Thanks to the support as a channel member, Ollie Gunnar Kvam. Boys and girls, just to let you know, I am going to be doing a 24-hour stream this weekend over on Twitch, twitch.tv/LOLLUJO. It's going to be a completely self-contained save. It's not going to be a continuation of anything we're doing here or over on Twitch at the moment. We're going to be doing a completely standalone thing for 24 hours. It's obviously going to be Football Manager, and it's going to be awesome. So hopefully you'll come along and join in the fun and shenanigans. We're starting at 10 a.m. Saturday morning on, what will that be, the 25th of February 2023. If you're watching this in the future, it's not always tomorrow. It's tomorrow specifically if you're watching this when this video first comes out. But 10 a.m. UK time tomorrow. It's going to be great. In the meantime, we now have to play my old club Spurs. This can't possibly go wrong. Hello and welcome to Club 4, Part 6 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have two games for you. We're going to be playing against Tottenham in the Champions League, and then I'm going to show you a league game as well, probably Girona. We might, I don't know, where is Girona in the league? They're just as far down as Real Betis. We're probably going to show you the Girona game, the main event, of course, being Tottenham, though. And since you were last with me, this is what has been going on. We're kind of finding our feet now after that iffy start. I think this is the first run of games we've had between episodes where there's not been a single defeat. It's still not been plain sailing. As you can see, a 0-0 draw away against Osasuna does not scream Barcelona. And we're struggling a little bit to score goals against some of the lesser teams. Celta Vigo there, we only grabbed the one goal against. But the last couple of matches, we have won fairly convincingly. And Julio Aspas is really starting to turn into the striker that we all knew he would turn into. Who knew? We just had to play him as an advanced forward rather than a complete forward. But he's now on 8 goals from 15 appearances, still averaging below a 7, but he's scoring goals. And that's the important thing when we are looking at a striker. So the situation in the Champions League is this. We are just outside of the top 8, 11th place. Tottenham 1 place below us. So both of us going to be looking for a win to try and force ourselves into that top 8 that contains Preston and Southampton. Because the future of football is going to be weird. But obviously we would very much like to finish in top 8, avoid that first knockout round playoff game that you have to play if you're finished between 9th and 24th in this weird new style Champions League. Spurs, after having a very strong start to the season, have started to fall off. It's almost like a reverse of what's going on with us. I mean, they are still only 2 points off the top of the Premier League, which is still a massive upgrade on where they were last season. Obviously, the transfers we've done have set them up really rather nicely. And as mentioned, I think in yesterday's episode, we noticed, of course, they've got Endrick up front for them as well. Endrick, Sen, Ignacio Reyes is just sat down there on the bench. That's bonkers. I would bring Ignacio Reyes in and promise to play him every game forever for the rest of his life. They're not even starting de Klerk in their most recent game. I mean, I worry about Tottenham, but not so much that I want them to beat me today. Obviously, we would very much like to beat them. It's at our place as well, so absolutely we need to be picking up a win, but can't help but look at their squad and think they have probably got a stronger team than we have. The other piece of news is that I finally figured out how to get a tune out of the guy whose name I always forget. There he is, Agostini. He has been playing as defensive midfielder for us. If we have a look at his recent form, he had a little bit of a run playing as a defensive midfielder and looked really good in that role. Injuries and suspensions have pushed him back to fullback for the last couple of matches, and he's actually having to play left back today because of an injury to Balde. But I think probably the future of this system, once everyone is fit and everyone is in their right places, Agostini will play there as a defensive midfielder and Gavi will be the playmaker a little bit further forward and will lose the box-to-box midfielder. But for today, Agostini's going to play left back. So De Jong gets to continue playing at the base of the midfield for a little bit longer. So our team in full is Simon in goal, a back four of Agostini, Lazarov, Araujo and Koundé, De Jong, Gavi and La Cruz in midfield, Zeballos on the left, Torres on the right, Aspas up front. We are looking for goals today from Julio Aspas. Goals from anybody, really. Priority, I was going to say main priority, only priority for today's episode. I don't even care if we lose in the league after this. We just have to make sure that we beat Tottenham. And after saying they're not playing de Klerk and Reyes, they're absolutely playing de Klerk and Reyes, aren't they? It looks like they've rotated in their previous match to make sure they're absolutely ready for me. So this is your Spurs team. Looks very familiar. Bazunu in goal. They've got de Klerk in at the back. They've got Sen and Reyes together up front. That is scary. That is scary stuff. And we need to be absolutely on top of our game, because although Spurs are Champions League holders and they're second in the Premier League, so they're doing better domestically than we are, I feel like I've got to kind of justify the move. We've moved to a bigger and better club. Let's prove that even now Barcelona are the bigger and better side. Koundé's in behind, Ceballos is there, and his shot is straight at Bazunu, which is a little bit unfortunate. It would have been very nice to open the goal scoring early on, but it was not to be. And now Frankie de Jong at the base of the midfield gives it to Lazarov. And now La Cruz, Agostini on the left-hand side. So this is his first time playing at left-back, and I think Ceballos has been fouled as he's charged into the area there by Blanco, who we signed in that summer where we brought in players and then never got to play them. I'm pretty sure Blanco is an attacking midfielder, so it's interesting to see him being played at right-back, and he has given away a penalty, so clearly not cut out for playing there, which is absolutely fine by me, and it's going to be Ceballos versus Bazunu. I'd really like a goal here, please. And we have gone 1-0 up. And the new camp goes wild. Ezequiel Ceballos that's his 5th goal of the season. He's actually performing a lot better than I expected him to. I think when we were originally going through the team and deciding what to do and who was going to be playing where and all that kind of stuff, I kind of just passed over him and didn't really consider him as an option. I just assumed I'd be going with Torres and Fati out wide. But Ceballos, he can play on either wing. He's a decent goal threat, and he just doesn't let us down. He plays very well. So I think we've actually got an extra winger there, which I wasn't really banking on. Good job I didn't just write him off and then never play him, eh? Gavi plays it forward to La Cruz here. He's got in behind, but he is being tracked by, presumably that's de Klerk with the number 2 on his back. That's the number he always used to wear at Preston. So I guess it's the number he's picked up here at Tottenham as well. And obviously we need to be afraid of him at set pieces and whatnot. Gavi is absolutely controlling the game. They're just spraying it around in midfield, and it's Ceballos cuts past his man, and what a goal from Ceballos. Oh my word. I thought he'd kind of mishit it on the edge of the area where it looked like he'd tried to pass it back to Gavi and it hadn't gone all the way. He was just kicking it around his man and teeing himself up for a wonderful goal. Let's have a look at this from the other angle. So it's there. I thought he'd mishit a pass, but he's just playing it past the defender, then runs beyond him, hits it first time, curls it past Bazunu. I've never seen that goal before in Football Manager. And it was wonderful. We're 2-0 up against the European champions, one of the top teams in the Premier League, the club that I built. We're ahead 2-0. This is what I'm talking about. We're also up into the top 8 of the Champions League as things stand. Ceballos trying to find Araujo. Obviously, when you've got de Klerk there defending corners, it's always going to be difficult to score one. But if the ball bobbles free to the edge of the area and you've got a man who can hit it from range like La Cruz, you've always got a chance, and there's less than half an hour gone, and we're 3-0 up over Tottenham. This feels like an exorcism. I'm getting all the Spursiness out of my system, and it's beautiful. Absolute defensive chaos. I think Bazunu probably has the original shot covered, but is that Valente and Okonkwo combining to just spoon it over the top of the goalkeeper? It was absolutely beautiful. And I've just noticed Spurs are very, very close to playing a full 1-11. I think they've got all but one 1-11 number out there and just a number 17 knocking about the place as well. So that would be that would have actually earned them some points if they were playing an exact 1-11, but they're not, so they don't get any points. I think they've redone the squad numbering since I was there as well, because I don't think it was that good. I know people get upset with my squad numbering. I just auto number it and don't ever change anyone. Once someone's got a number, that's their number forever. So, for example, Aspas is going to be our number 9 forever, even if he ends up being a backup player for us. Or Agostini, even if he becomes the best defensive midfielder in the world, will always wear number 21, because that's the number that he wears now. We don't change their numbers. Right. Spurs have got a corner. Remember, we do need to be afraid. They've got a lot of aerial threats, the biggest of which is de Klerk, and he does get on the end of it, but his header goes over. He knows what side his bread's buttered. He knows that if he behaves himself, there's a potential move to Barcelona in his future, although to be fair, both him and Reyes are probably always going to be far too expensive for us to bring in. We are already thinking in terms of some January shopping. We've got a few deals lined up, which I won't show you today. We'll save them for the episode when they arrive, which will be the next episode, which I think will be Sunday. We're doing a bonus Sunday episode this week. You might have noticed the last few weeks we're being a little bit more fluid with when the non-League to Legend episodes come out. You're still getting 5 a week. They're just not always Monday to Friday because there's other stuff that needs to come out midweek sometimes. So I think I still owe you one for this week. So that'll come out on Sunday. And in that episode, you'll get to meet some new signings, as we should be into the January transfer window by then. It is Spurs coming at us here, but De Jong just intercepts it very comfortably, and Ferran Torres plays it into the path of Aspas, who's been quiet today, but he gets a chance and he scores a goal. It might be offside. The referee has got his finger in his ear, but it looked all right to me. I'm giving it. I'll give that. Referee doesn't. Rubbish. This is why we should be properly Barcelona-ing these referees rather than letting them think for themselves. This is unacceptable. I mean, he is a little bit offside, but a little bit offside for us, that's not like being full offside. We should probably get away with stuff like that. Right, Agostini's got a big throw on him there. I mean, there was no one to get on the end of it, but it was interesting to see that he can apparently chuck it a long way. I never noticed him do that when he was playing at right back, but apparently when he's at left back, he can really sling it a long way. Aspas is trying to cause a nuisance here, but not really. Doesn't really seem committed to the bit, does he? Spurs knocking the ball around the way they always did when I was there, and Aspas absolutely not interested in wasting any energy and chasing him, which is weird because his preferred role as a striker is supposedly as a pressing forward. He wasn't doing any pressing there, and Ismail Sen is still very good, isn't he? Well, please don't get back into this game, Spurs. They've got a lot of firepower. There's a lot of goals in this Spurs team, and Sen is always going to be a massive threat, and we can see it there. He's just got in behind our defenders. He's big, strong, powerful, quick, and pretty direct as well. And our defenders just had absolutely no answer to that. Agostini, of course, is playing out of position at left back, which isn't ideal. And Sen, we don't want to see him getting too many more of those kinds of chances. Lazarov now at centre back for us, gives it to Gavi, and now Koundé back to Araujo. We're now going to try and knock the ball around for a bit and hope that the Spurs strikers don't take it off of us. Gavi has got a huge pocket of space here, finds Aspas. You can't give Gavi and De Jong the amount of space Spurs are giving them at the moment, which is, we're just controlling the midfield, and La Cruz bursts out of the midfield, goes one-on-one with the keeper, and I think he's just tried to almost run it through him rather than actually trying to beat him. If he has the shot a little bit sooner, I think he has a little bit more success there, but he didn't. He's a silly goose. Right, Gavi, after running the entire game, obviously is quite tired, so Pedri can come on for him. What a substitution that is to be able to make. Have we got no other centre-backs on the bench? We're going to bring Bullet on. We're going to put Koundé over there to cover for Lazarov, who's going to come off as he's tiring a little bit. We're going to bring Bullet. Of course, the former Spurs man is going to come on and play right back for us. And I think we're going to take off Aspas as well and stick Ansu Fati on up front for the last 20 minutes just to use his pace, run around, cause problems, get in behind. We've just brought Ansu Fati and Pedri on. That is a couple of wonderful substitutions to be able to make. And that's a lovely pass from De Jong. And we didn't bring Ansu Fati on for his aerial prowess, but he did. He scored a header from outside the area there. That would have been bonkers. Spurs now making some changes as well. Hopefully it's too little too late for them as we're making a few more as players are starting to tire. Temel can play at the base of that midfield. Agostini is going to come off for Pereira to come on at left back. And we just need to hold on from here. They've got the youngster McGregor on. He's the guy who was out on loan and I didn't know he existed. And he just arrived back at Spurs on the 1st of July. And we realised we had a really good wonder kid on our hands. We never actually got to see him play, but he is on in central midfield for them now. But it's a central midfield that De Jong and Pedri are hopefully going to stop him touching the ball in. Torres gives the ball away there, though, but then immediately wins it back. And it's Araujo to De Jong, who's had a wonderful game at the base of the midfield, just controlling the match. Him and Gavi, just everything has passed through them and it's just ticking over. And now Pedri with the ball forward for Fati, who, rather than running with it, has had the shot from range. I think that's a poor decision for him. He needs to just turn on the afterburners, get beyond de Klerk, who, as much as I love de Klerk, he's not a really pacey defender. And I think you can probably beat de Klerk and Valente for pace in that situation, but he has the shot from range. It doesn't matter because we've comfortably won the game. The match stats And the XG in particular showed just how much we've dominated it. And now Temel is going to try and do his best De Jong impression and just keep things ticking over from the base to midfield. Look at the space they're giving him again as a playmaker. This 4-4-2 is rubbish. I don't know why they've switched to a 4-4-2. It just isn't working. You've got Temel or De Jong previously with all the space in the world between their midfield and their strikers. And then the other side of it, you've got La Cruz, Zaballos and Torres just occupying the space between their midfield and their defence. It looks like towards the end of the game, they did bring a holding midfielder on, but they've just given our creative midfield players far too much time on the ball. Tactical naivety, but we don't care because we've just beaten Spurs. We've banished that demon and we're up to the top 8 with 2 games to go. We're 7th. Preston are above us. Southampton are below us. The Champions League, a very weird thing at the moment. But we've still got to play PSV Eindhoven and Nantes. And with those 2 still to play, you've got to believe a top 8 finish is in our future. How are Preston getting on? They're 9th in the Premier League. Does this still look like my Preston team while we're going back down memory lane? Arguably, that looks more like my Preston team than Spurs look like my Spurs team. But again, they've gone to a weird 4-4-2 and they've signed someone to replace Blanco. Who the hell is this guy? What's the thinking there? A £600,000 goalkeeper from Bologna? I guess Blanco's been injured, has he? Okay, he has played most of the season. I'll allow it. He's their backup goalkeeper that they brought in to replace Simon. Weird stuff. Right, let's go and play a La Liga game. All right, a few changes for the Girona game then. Santos is going to come in and play left back. I mean, he's a centre back anyway. We'll play him at left back. It'll be fine. He can come in and play there. So Agostini can go back over to right back. We're going with La Cruz and Pedri in central midfield. Gavi's going to have his turn playing out on the wing because Fati is recovering from an injury. And this should be more than enough for us to pick up a result in the league against one of the smaller teams in the division. This is why we sometimes drop points in the league, though, because I do tend to use the league games against anyone other than like Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, the big clubs. But any of these smaller teams, I do tend to use this as my opportunity to just try things like Santos at left back, like Gavi on the wing. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But we have to be willing to experiment with things. That's what these league games are for. Got to do a little bit of rotation. And there is Gavi playing on the wing, who, remember, completely controlled the game from central midfield in the last match. And we're now asking him to play a completely different role. But he is directly involved in us winning a penalty, which will hopefully lead to our first goal. It's Lazarov who got fired. Was that originally from a corner? Lazarov got fired. Lazarov got fouled. I don't know why Lazarov was forward. That must have been from a corner originally. And it's Ferran Torres to take, and he scores. And it's 1-0, and fingers crossed, we're gonna enter a new era now where against these smaller teams, we just thump them. That's the way the La Liga is supposed to work. The La Liga. So English. That's the way La Liga is supposed to work, isn't it? If you're one of the big clubs, you thump all the smaller clubs, and then it basically comes down to 3 or 4 matches a season against the other bigger teams. And we are starting to pull away in a little top 4 group, despite not really getting going. We're certainly not out of second gear yet, I would say, domestically. There's certainly much improvement that could happen, but we are still part of this breakaway 4 at the top of the league, which interestingly doesn't include last season's champions, does it? I think that's it. Was that? Yeah, it's Real Madrid, Valencia, Atletico Madrid, us. It's Athletic Club who won the league last year and are now down in 7th place, which is weird that they've had such a weird Leicester season where they've won it from nowhere and then dropped off again. Santos has scored from left back here. We might be making an offer for a 22-year-old left back who doesn't get in West Ham's team. But he seems to be fitting in quite nicely here at Barcelona. He can play anywhere across the back 4. We are using him quite a lot, and he's pretty useful, and he's weighed in with a goal there. He's worked out a lot better than Tamang has. Obviously, we had that lovely Tamang moment when he scored on his debut. Since then, he's never looked like scoring again. So I think we'll probably be sending Tamang back to Preston in January with a thanks but no thanks message. And he probably needs to go out and have some time scoring some goals in the Championship. I still think he'll come good. He's a proper English wonder kid, but he is 21, 22 now and not looking like he's ready to be playing at Champions League level just yet. But we've got a plan in mind. There'll be a striker coming in. we'll have some competition for Aspas that's a little bit more competition-y than Tamang has been. And I think it'll be great for Aspas to be able to just drop out of the team occasionally rather than having to be relied on week in, week out to always play and always score goals for us. Can we get the ball on the ground here? We're supposed to be Barcelona. I mean, that was quite fancy. It was head tennis, but it was all us and it was all accurate. And we did end up getting the ball under control with Santos on this left-hand side. And now we're building an attack from it. And Pedri gives the ball away, which, if anything, I'm still a little disappointed with Pedri. I'm not sure I'm playing him in his best role. I've played him in lots of different positions, tried lots of things. Was that a cross from Agostini? Are we that confident in this game that we've decided to start creating problems for ourselves? It was a very good save from Simon, who is also starting to look the part here at Barcelona. But I think I do need a plan for getting the best out of Pedri. And I worry that this system, because Pedri and Gavi seem to want to do the same things, and we've got La Cruz, who does the energy in midfield really well, and we've got De Jong and Temel and Agostini and lots of players who can play the holding player in midfield really well. Pedri and Gavi are kind of vying for that other option as the attacking creative force out of central midfield. And I've struggled to fit them both in the team at the same time, which is why we've usually got one of them on the bench or one of them out wide. And I think probably they work better the other way around to what we've got them today, with Gavi playing in central midfield, La Cruz would then play as the Mezzala and Pedri out on one of the wings. Seems to work a little better, but this is why we use the league to experiment, so we can try these different things. I tell you, Santos doesn't look out of place in this team, and that's a stunning pass from Pedri. Here's me talking about him not being... I'm literally saying those two should be playing the other way around, and then we get a stunning pass from Pedri to Gavi, who beats his man and finishes comfortably. So clearly they can play whatever way around they feel like. They're just both very good. They're the two best players in the league. We need to find a way to get the best out of them. It's like England with Lampard and Gerrard not being able to play them together. It's just an excuse. Figure it out. In fact, Fatty's injured, isn't he? So let's give Tamang another opportunity to come on and play some football. Agostini, once again, playing at right back, just doesn't get the job done. He is much more effective at the base of the midfield. And I will endeavour to show you him there in the next episode. For now, though, we're going to bring Temel on to play in that role as we continue to try and further his development as a young 20-year-old wonder kid who is very much earmarked for that role in the future. It'll be between him and Agostini. They're both 20. And I guess it depends on which roles we end up wanting to use there. We're going to bring Kunde on for Lazarov. And then for my final trick, Zeballos can come on and play 10 minutes. After being so good against Spurs, I don't want him to think he was dropped. He was just resting. Come on, 10-minute run out. Maybe grab yourself a goal. Give ourselves a pat on the back. We're comfortably up in this top four. I don't know that we're in a title race. I don't think we're necessarily good enough for that. Maybe if we have a really good January transfer window, we could sneak into a title race in the second half of the season. But this year, I'm happy just having a deepish run in the Champions League and making sure we're in it again next year and rebuilding this team. And that's certainly what we're working towards doing at the moment. So next episode, we'll probably go right to the end of the January transfer window. We've got our final Champions League game against Nantes. We've also got Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid in the league. So you'll get two of those three plus January transfer. So that is one you're not going to want to miss. And remember, that is Sunday morning. So not in the normal 4 o'clock time slot, 11 a.m. Sunday morning. Come on and watch that, because it's going to be a good one. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.